2:15 in the morning. The Strait of Hormuz. USS Sirocco was 5 miles into the outbound shipping lane when the first radar return appeared. The contact was traveling at 38 knots and was not broadcasting an automatic identification system signal. To the bridge crew of the 330-ton patrol ship, the absence of an AIS signature was the first indicator of a non-commercial vessel. The air over the strait was thick with the smell of salt and diesel. Visibility was restricted to 4 miles by a persistent maritime haze that blurred the lights of the Omani coastline to the south. USS Sirocco, a Cyclone-class patrol ship, was completing a 7-day mission in the Persian Gulf and was heading toward the Gulf of Oman. Bridge, combat, contact designated Skunk 1, bearing 340, range 8,000 yards, speed is 38 knots. The report from the Combat Information Center was flat. The technician monitored the AN/SPS-73 radar display. The green blip was moving in a straight line toward the Sirocco's port beam. Officer of the deck, I. The bridge officer responded. Signalman, scan bearing 340. Report any navigation lights or strobe. Scanning now, sir. Bearing 340 is clear. I have no visual contact. Maintain track. Combat. He is closing fast. Standard maritime procedure requires all vessels to display navigation lights at night. These include a red light on the port side and a white masthead light. The incoming contact was displaying none of them. It was running dark in one of the most heavily trafficked shipping lanes in the world. 3 miles to the north, 3 Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy fast attack craft moved in a tight formation. The lead vessel was a Zolfaghar-class patrol boat. It was powered by high-performance outboard motors and carried a crew of 4. The Iranian commander sat in the open cockpit, looking through a set of stabilized binoculars. He could see the low profile of the American patrol ship. His orders from the regional command center at Bandar Abbas were to intercept and identify all foreign military vessels. He had not been instructed to initiate communication. He had been instructed to observe. On the Sirocco, the range dropped to 6,000 yards. The bridge was quiet. The only sound was the low hum of the air conditioning and the rhythmic pulse of the radar. Combat. Bridge. Range check. Range is 5,800 yards. Bearing is steady. Closing speed is now 40 knots. A steady bearing with a decreasing range is the mathematical definition of a collision course. The commanding officer of the Sirocco entered the bridge. He had been in his cabin when the initial report was made. He did not ask how the crew felt. He asked for the status of the radio hails. We have hailed them twice on channel 16, Captain. No response. Try the bridge-to-bridge secondary. Then use the long-range acoustic device. I want them to know we see them. The radio operator keyed the handset for the 3rd time. Unknown vessel on bearing 340, range 5,000 yards. This is United States Navy warship. You are standing into danger. Change your course immediately. The Iranian boats did not change course. They did not slow down. On the radar screen, the single blip suddenly expanded. It separated into 3 distinct dots. The Iranian vessels were shifting from a column into a line abreast formation. They were now 2 miles away and closing at over 40 miles per hour. 2:30 in the morning. The 3 contacts were now 4,000 yards from the USS Sirocco. Captain, I have a visual. Through the FLIR, the bridge sensor operator reported. The forward-looking infrared camera displayed a heat signature image of 3 hulls cutting through the water. Identify, the captain ordered. Lead boat is a Zolfaghar-class fast attack craft. 2 Peykaap-class boats are in his wake. They are armed with twin 12.7mm machine guns. The lead has a twin missile tube on the stern. The Zolfaghar is a coastal patrol craft designed for high-speed intercepts. Its presence in the international shipping lane without lights was a technical violation of the international regulations for preventing collisions at sea, commonly known as COLREGs. Specifically, Rule 20, which governs the display of lights between sunset and sunrise. Bridge, signalman. I have the LRAD powered up. The The long-range acoustic device is a non-lethal weapon that can project a highly directional beam of sound over long distances. It is used to issue verbal warnings or to emit a high-decibel tone designed to deter unauthorized vessels. Transmit the warning on the LRAD, the captain said. Maintain bridge-to-bridge hails on Channel 16 and Channel 66. Channel 66 is a designated maritime frequency frequently used for bridge-to-bridge communication in the Persian Gulf. The radio officer repeated the warning. The tone was professional and devoid of inflection. Iranian patrol craft on bearing 340. This is United States warship on your port bow. You are approaching a sovereign vessel. Stay clear. There was no response. The only audio on the radio was the background static of the maritime band. 4 miles to the north, the Iranian commander adjusted the throttle of the Zolfaghar. His tactical display showed the American ship as a large, slow-moving thermal signature. He was operating under silent mode protocols established by the IRGCN 3rd Naval District. These protocols mandated that during sovereign enforcement exercises, communication with foreign warships was only to be conducted upon direct authorization from land-based command. He was currently 2 miles inside the Iranian-claimed territorial waters line, though the U.S. Navy recognized this area as international water. The Iranian boat increased its speed to 42 knots. The distance to the Sirocco closed to 3,000 yards. On the Sirocco, the officer of the deck looked at the surface status board. Captain, the contacts are not responding to audio or radio hails. They are now inside the 3,000-yard exclusion zone. Go to general quarters, the captain ordered. Sound the alarm. The electronic chime of the general quarters alarm echoed through the ship's narrow passageways. All 28 crew members moved to their designated stations. The Sirocco was a small ship, and the transition from a standard watch to a combat footing took 92 seconds. The gunners on the Mark 38 25mm Bushmaster chain guns took their positions. They did not load the weapons. They did not train the barrels on the Iranian boats. They stood behind the ballistic shields and waited for the order to unmask the guns. Range is 2,500 yards, combat reported. Contacts are accelerating. The incident had transitioned from a navigational anomaly to a tactical encounter. 2:40 in the morning. Coordinates 26 degrees north, 56 degrees east. The distance between the USS Sirocco and the lead Iranian vessel closed to 1,000 yards in less than 60 seconds. At this range, the wake of the Zolfaghar was visible as a white phosphor-streaked line against the dark water. The 3 Iranian boats had shifted into a staggered column, with the lead boat pulling ahead of the 2 Peykaps. Bridge. Combat. Lead contact is now inside 1,000 yards. He is crossing from port to starboard. Speed is 42 knots. Captain, he's coming across the bow, the officer of the deck reported. The captain stood by the forward bridge windows. Maintain course and speed. Do not deviate. I want the bridge-to-bridge hails to continue. Signalman, use the green laser dazzler, directed at the lead boat's superstructure. Do not aim for the cockpit. The laser dazzler is a non-lethal optical distraction device. It emits a brilliant green strobe that is impossible to ignore, designed to warn a pilot or helmsman that they are being tracked. On the bridge of the Zolfaghar, the Iranian commander saw the rhythmic flash of the green laser against the fiberglass hull of his boat. He did not turn away. He checked his own radar display. He was now 500 yards from the Sirocco's bow. He adjusted his rudder 3 degrees to starboard. His objective was a high-speed crossing, a maneuver intended to test the reaction time and the stand-on resolve of the American vessel. Under Rule 17 of the International Regulations for Preventing Collisions at Sea, when one of 2 vessels is to keep out of the way, the other shall keep her course and speed. As the Sirocco was the stand-on vessel in this crossing situation, any deviation in course could be interpreted as a loss of control or a tactical retreat. The Iranian boat crossed the Sirocco's bow at a distance of 480 yards. At 42 knots, the transit across, The American ship's path took less than 5 seconds. Lead boat has crossed the bow, combat reported. He is looping back to the north. The two trailers are holding position at 1,000 yards on our port quarter. Inside the Sirocco's Combat Information Center, the tactical action officer reviewed the rules of engagement. These were the standing orders issued by Central Command that governed when a ship could use force. The criteria required a demonstration of hostile intent or a hostile act. Tactical: Captain, what is the status of their weapons? The 12.7mm guns remain manned but are not trained on us, Captain. I have no indication of fire control radar from the missile tubes. They are operating purely on optical and navigation radar. The lack of fire control radar was a critical distinction. It meant the Iranian vessels were not locking on to the Sirocco with their weapon systems. It was a maneuver of physical intimidation, not a precursor to a missile launch. Understood, the captain replied. We are staying at general quarters. Keep the cameras on them. I want every second of this documented. 2 minutes later, the lead Iranian boat slowed, allowed its two wingmen to catch up, and reformed the line abreast formation. They were now 2,000 yards behind the Sirocco, positioned in its wake. They began to accelerate again. Combat, bridge. They're coming up the rear, the officer of the deck said. They are gaining at 15 knots. The first pass was complete. The second was beginning. 2:48 in the morning. Inside the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy Regional Command Center at Bandar Abbas, the tactical plot showed the American patrol ship moving through the outbound traffic lane. The facility, which monitors all maritime traffic through the northern strait, was operating under a localized drill status. The duty officer at Bandar Abbas contacted the lead Zolfaghar-class vessel via a high-frequency radio link. Unit 1. Command. The target is confirmed as USS Sirocco. You are authorized to execute Maneuver Cycle 2. Maintain a minimum distance of 100 yards. Report all visual documentation to this station. The Iranian commander on the Zolfaghar acknowledged the order. He was a 10-year veteran of the IRGCN and had conducted similar intercepts on 3 previous occasions. He signaled his wingmen using a signal lamp. The 2 Peykaap-class boats, smaller and more maneuverable than the Zolfaghar, shifted their positions. They began to fan out, moving toward the Sirocco's port and starboard quarters. On the bridge of the USS Sirocco, the captain stood at the tactical console. The wingmen are breaking formation, the officer of the deck reported. They are moving to our quarters. Distance is 900 yards. Combat, bridge. Provide a continuous range update on all 3 contacts, the captain ordered. Bridge, combat. Lead boat is at 800 yards, dead astern. Speed is 45 knots. Port and starboard wingmen are at 800 yards and accelerating. The Sirocco was maintaining a steady speed of 14 knots. The speed differential was 31 knots. At this rate, the Iranian boats would be alongside the American vessel in less than 40 seconds. Gun mounts, stand by, the captain said. All personnel are to remain behind the ballistic shielding. Signalman, continue LRAD warnings. The LRAD operator repeated the pre-recorded warning in both English and Farsi. The voice was mechanical and amplified to a volume intended to be heard over the roar of the high-performance outboard engines of the approaching craft. You are approaching a United States Navy warship operating in international waters. Your actions are unsafe and unprofessional. Stay clear, or you will be subject to defensive measures. The 2 Peykaap boats did not deviate. They were now 700 yards away, one on each side of the Sirocco, moving in a synchronized sprint toward the ship's midsection. The lead Zolfaghar boat remained directly astern, holding its position in the center of the Sirocco's wake. In Bahrain, the 5th Fleet duty officer was briefed on the situation via a secure communication link. He did not issue new orders. He directed the Sirocco to maintain its course and continue documenting the interaction. The command was relayed through the ship's communication suite. Orders from Fifth Fleet are to maintain course and speed, the officer of the deck reported. Understood, the captain replied. Hold her. Steady at 14 knots. The two smaller Iranian boats were now 500 yards from the Sirocco's beam. They were preparing for the second pass of the night, 2:55 in the morning. The two Peykaap-class boats reached the 500-yard mark on the Sirocco's quarters. The lead Zolfaghar boat maintained its position directly astern at 800 yards. The formation remained stable for 90 seconds before the portside Peykaap initiated a high-speed bank to starboard. Bridge, combat. Port trailer is turning. He is crossing the wake. The smaller vessel cut through the Sirocco's wake 300 yards behind the stern. The maneuver was executed at 44 knots. The Peykaap passed within 60 yards of the starboard side trailer before banking back toward the north. This was the second pass of the encounter. Captain, the starboard trailer is now moving, the officer of the deck reported. 40 seconds after the first crossing, the second Peykaap boat crossed the wake from starboard to port. The distance to the Sirocco's transom was 280 yards. The Iranian boats were now operating in a synchronized weave pattern behind the American ship. Inside the Combat Information Center, the Tactical Action Officer monitored the distance. They are increasing the frequency of the crossings. We are at General Quarters. All gun mounts are manned and ready. No targets are locked. The Sirocco was a Cyclone-class patrol ship, designed specifically for this type of littoral environment. While heavily armed for its size, it lacked the armored hull of a destroyer. At these ranges, the 12.7mm machine guns on the Iranian boats were technically capable of penetrating the Sirocco's superstructure. Maintain documenting, the captain said. Signalman. Use the spotlight. Illuminate the lead boat. The Sirocco's high-intensity searchlight cut through the maritime haze. It caught the Zolfaghar-class boat as it began to accelerate up the Sirocco's port beam. The white light reflected off the Iranian vessel's gray hull and the spray from its bow wave. On the Zolfaghar, the Iranian commander narrowed his eyes against the glare of the searchlight. He did not alter his course. He was now 300 yards from the Sirocco's port rail, matching the American ship's 14-knot speed before suddenly surging to 40 knots. This was the third pass. The Zolfaghar pulled ahead of the Sirocco, staying within 300 yards, before banking hard across the American ship's bow. For the second time tonight, lead boat is crossing the bow. Range is 250 yards, combat reported. The captain did not move from the bridge window. He is getting closer. Bridge-to-bridge hails are still going out, Captain. No response. The Iranian commander watched the Sirocco through his side window as he crossed its path. He could see the silhouettes of the American sailors behind the gun shields. He noted that the 25mm guns were pointed in a neutral, forward position. They were not tracking his boat. This confirmed the American intent to avoid escalation, a key data point for his subsequent report to Bandar Abbas. The Zolfaghar completed the crossing and slowed down on the Sirocco's starboard side. The two Peykaps moved up to join it. The three boats were now in a line abreast formation, 300 yards off the Sirocco's starboard beam, matching its 14-knot speed. For 4 minutes, the two groups of vessels moved in parallel through the dark water of the shipping lane. No one spoke on the radio. The only sound was the drone of the engines and the wash of the sea against the hulls. 3:10 in the morning, the officer of the deck announced. They are starting to turn in again. 3:10 in the morning. The fourth pass was initiated when the lead Zolfaghar-class boat suddenly broke from the line abreast formation. The Iranian vessel executed a hard turn to port, increasing its speed from 14 to 45 knots in less than 15 seconds. Its trajectory was calculated to intercept the USS Sirocco's bow at a 90-degree angle. Bridge, combat. Lead contact is turning in. Target angle is 090. Range is 400 yards and closing. Officer of the deck, maintain course, the captain ordered. Signalman, activate the LRAD warning tone. Maximum decibels. Repeat the verbal warning in Farsi. The long-range acoustic device emitted a high-pitched, oscillating pulse. The sound was designed to be physically painful to anyone within the beam's narrow path who was not wearing hearing protection. On the bridge of the Sirocco, the sound was a muffled vibration behind the reinforced glass. Outside, it projected across the water, cutting through the roar of the Iranian engines. On the Zolfaghar, the Iranian commander felt the vibration of the LRAD tone in his chest. He did not alter his course. He watched the range indicator on his navigation screen. 300 yards, 250, 200. He was moving at nearly 75 feet per second. 200 yards, the Sirocco's bridge operator reported. "Captain, he is not turning." "Steady as she goes," the captain replied. He did not look at the radar. He watched the white bow wave of the Iranian boat through the bridge window. The Zolfaghar crossed the Sirocco's bow at a distance of 150 yards. This was the closest point of approach recorded during the encounter, thus far. The wake of the Iranian boat was large enough to cause the 330-ton patrol ship to pitch 3 degrees to port as it hit the displaced water. "Lead boat has crossed the bow," Combat reported. "The 2 Peykaps are now accelerating. They are following the same lead in line." The 2 smaller Iranian boats followed the Zolfaghar's path, crossing the Sirocco's bow in rapid succession at intervals of 30 seconds. The first Peykaap crossed at 200 yards, the second at 180 yards. Inside the Sirocco's Combat Information Center, the Tactical Action Officer checked the status of the ship's camera systems. "Bridge, combat. We have clear thermal and optical footage of all 3 crossings. Identifying numbers on the hulls are being logged." The Iranian boats did not continue their turn. After crossing to the Sirocco's port side, they slowed down and allowed the American ship to pass them. They were now positioned on the port quarter, sitting in the Sirocco's blind spot relative to the forward-facing bridge windows. "They are falling back," the officer of the deck observed. "They are resetting," the captain said. Combat. "What is the status of the outbound traffic?" "We have a crude oil tanker, the Marin Centaurus, 7 miles ahead of us. There is a container ship 5 miles to our rear. We are the only military vessel in this sector." The Iranian commander on the Zolfaghar reported the success of the 4th pass to Bandar Abbas. He was informed that the American ship had not deviated from its course and had not uncovered its primary weapon systems. The instruction from the regional command was to continue the maneuver cycle to determine the exact threshold of the American rules of engagement. 3:20 in the morning, the officer of the deck said. "The lead boat is moving again. He's coming up the port side this time." 3:10 in the morning. The 5th pass was executed with a higher degree of coordination than the previous 4. The lead Zolfaghar-class boat accelerated to 45 knots, pulling ahead of the USS Sirocco's bow by 600 yards. Simultaneously, the 2 Peykaap-class boats moved to positions on the American ship's port and starboard beams, maintaining a distance of less than 200 yards. This configuration, known in maritime tactical circles as a box formation, is designed to limit a larger vessel's ability to maneuver or change course without risking a collision. By flanking the Sirocco on both sides while the lead boat occupied the space ahead, the Iranian vessels were effectively dictating the American ship's path through the outbound lane. Inside the Sirocco's radio room, the communications officer established a secure voice link to the Naval Forces Central Command in Bahrain. The 5th Fleet duty officer was monitoring the situation through real-time data bursts transmitted by the Sirocco's Combat Information Center. 5th Fleet, this is Sirocco. We are currently at General Quarters. We have completed 5 passes by 3 IRGCN assets. They are maintaining a box formation at 200 yards. Request updated instructions on the use of non-lethal deterrents. Sirocco, this is 5th Fleet. Acknowledge your status. You are authorized to utilize the LRAD and laser dazzlers at your discretion to maintain the safety of your vessel. Continue documenting all interactions. Do not deviate from the international shipping lane. We are notifying the Sultanate of Oman of the ongoing activity in the sector. The duty officer in Bahrain reinforced that the ship was to avoid any appearance of provocative intent. The objective was to complete the transit without an exchange of fire. At 3:25 in the morning, the 6th pass began. The starboard Peykaap boat suddenly turned toward the Sirocco's midsection. It increased speed to 46 knots, crossing the American ship's bow at a distance of 120 yards. It was followed immediately by the port Peykaap, which executed a hard turn and crossed the Sirocco's wake at 100 yards. The Iranian commander on the Zolfaghar observed the American ship's response through his night vision optics. The Sirocco remained steady at 14 knots. He noted that the American vessel had not increased speed or attempted to break the box formation. To the Iranian command at Bandar Abbas, this indicated a high level of crew discipline. However, the Iranian commander also interpreted this as an opportunity to push the engagement closer to the Sirocco's hull. Bridge. Combat. Sixth pass complete. The contacts are closing the distance of the box. The port trailer is now at 100 yards off our beam. The starboard trailer is at 90 yards. Officer of the deck, notify the gun mounts, the captain said. They are to remain in a non-threatening posture, but they are to keep their eyes on the Iranian crew members. If a weapon is uncovered on those boats, I want to know the second it happens. The Sirocco was now flanked so closely that the spray from the Iranian boat's outboards was hitting the American ship's lower hull. The persistent green strobe of the laser dazzler continued to illuminate the Zolfaghar's superstructure, a silent reminder that the Iranian lead was being tracked by the Sirocco's fire control sensors, even if the guns remained masked. 3:30 in the morning, the officer of the deck announced, the lead boat is slowing down. He's dropping back toward our bow. 3:30 in the morning. The seventh pass. The lead Zolfaghar-class boat, which had been slowing ahead of the USS Sirocco, executed a sudden 180-degree turn. Instead of crossing the bow, it turned directly into the American ship's path. Bridge. Combat. Lead contact has reversed course. He is now on a reciprocal heading. Range is 600 yards. Closing speed is 55 knots. This maneuver, a head-on approach, reduced the decision time for the Sirocco's command to less than 20 seconds. The combined closing speed of the two vessels meant the distance was disappearing at nearly 90 feet per second. Officer of the deck, this is the captain. Sound the whistle. 5 short, rapid blasts. International signal for danger. The Sirocco's foghorn cut through the humid night air with 5 sharp concussive bursts. The sound was intended to signal to any nearby commercial traffic and the Iranian commander that a collision was imminent. Range is 400 yards, combat reported. He is holding the center line. Gun mounts, targets are designated, the captain said. Do not engage. I repeat, do not engage. Signalman, prepare the Mark II 44 flares. Launch on my command if he crosses the 300-yard threshold. The Mark II 44 is a hand-launched white phosphorus flare used for illumination and signaling. While non-lethal, the intense magnesium light at close range is a final tier warning before the application of kinetic force. On the bridge of the Zolfaghar, the Iranian commander watched the Sirocco's bridge through his thermal sights. He could see the heat signatures of the American crew moving with deliberate speed. He was now 300 yards from the American bow. His orders were to push the intercept to the point of deviation. He waited for the Sirocco to turn. The Sirocco did not turn. 300 yards. The Sirocco's bridge operator called out. The voice remained steady. 280 yards. Launch flares. The captain ordered. 2 white flares streaked from the Sirocco's port and starboard bridge wings. They ignited 300 feet above the water, bathing the entire sector in a harsh, artificial white glare. The light reflected off the black hulls of the Iranian boats and the white foam of their wakes. The Iranian commander on the Zolfaghar reacted to the flares by throwing his helm hard to port. The boat leaned at a 30-degree angle, its outboards screaming as they fought for traction in the heavy sea. The vessel missed the Sirocco's port bow by approximately 150 yards. Lead boat has turned away, combat reported. He is passing down our port side at 150 yards. The trailers are maintaining their positions at our quarters. The 7th pass was the most aggressive maneuver of the night. It had brought 2 sovereign warships within seconds of a collision that would have likely resulted in the loss of the Iranian craft and significant damage to the Sirocco. Inside the Combat Information Center, the tactical action officer logged the event as a hostile feint. He noted that while the Iranian boat had turned away, it had done so only after the deployment of pyrotechnic signals. 3:35 in the morning, the officer of the deck said. He's slowing down again. He's settling in at 400 yards on our port beam. He's looking for the 8th pass, the captain said. Tell the crew to stay sharp. We are almost through the narrowest part of the lane. The Sirocco continued its transit. The flares drifted slowly toward the water, leaving trails of gray smoke in the humid air. The Iranian boats remained in formation, their silhouettes stark against the fading magnesium light. 3:35 in the morning. The Iranian formation shifted for the 8th time. Unlike the previous high-speed intercepts, the Zolfaghar-class boat did not accelerate to its maximum displacement speed. Instead, it maintained a steady 20 knots, moving from the port beam toward the USS Sirocco's bow in a slow, deliberate diagonal. Bridge. Combat. Lead contact is crossing the bow again. Speed is 20 knots. Range is 200 yards. He is loitering in our path. Officer of the deck, notify the photo exercise team, the captain ordered. I want high-resolution imagery of their bridge and their weapon mounts. If they are filming us, I want them to see us filming them. On the Sirocco's bridge wing, a sailor equipped with a long-range digital camera and a thermal imaging unit tracked the Iranian vessel. Through the lens, the Iranian crew was clearly visible. 2 men were on the aft deck of the Zolfaghar, one holding a handheld video camera, the other steadying himself against the rail. This was a standard component of such encounters. Both sides sought to create a visual record to support their respective diplomatic narratives. The Iranian boat crossed the Sirocco's bow at a distance of 150 yards. At 20 knots, the maneuver took significantly longer than the previous passes. For nearly 30 seconds, the two vessels were in close proximity, their hulls illuminated by the fading glow of the overhead flares and the Sirocco's own navigation lights. Inside the Iranian boat, the commander was documenting the Sirocco's deck configuration. He noted the position of the 25mm chain guns and the Mark 19 grenade launchers. He also observed that the American crew remained in their protective gear, maintaining a disciplined defensive posture. His objective for the 8th pass was surveillance, rather than intimidation. He had collected enough telemetry on the American ship's reaction times and its escalation ladder. Lead boat has cleared the bow, Combat reported. He is slowing to 10 knots. The two trailers are breaking off. They are turning north-northwest. Bridge. Signalman. The Iranian lead is signaling with a lamp. The Zolfaghar emitted a series of short white light flashes. It was not a standard Morse code signal, but a common tactical acknowledgement used by IRGCN craft when concluding an interaction. They are reducing speed across the board, the officer of the deck observed. Range is increasing. 500 yards. 600. The 8th pass marked the end of the active engagement phase. The Iranian boats, having completed their planned maneuver cycle, began to transition out of their tactical formation. The Zolfaghar turned to follow its wingmen, its bow waves subsiding as it dropped below planing speed. Combat. Bridge. Do we have any other incoming contacts? Negative. Captain. The sector is clear. The Marin Centaurus is now 10 miles ahead. The container ship to our rear is maintaining its interval. The captain stepped back from the window. He did not order the ship to stand down from general quarters. Not yet. Maintain track until they are outside 5,000 yards, he said. Officer of the deck, prepare a situation report for 5th Fleet. Include the timestamp of the final pass and the closest point of approach. The 3 Iranian boats were now small green dots on the radar, moving steadily away from the shipping lane toward the Iranian coastline. The encounter had lasted 65 minutes. 3:40 in the morning, the officer of the deck said. They are at 3,000 yards and opening. Speed is 22 knots. The high-intensity interaction was over. The process of bureaucratic and strategic analysis was about to begin. 3:40 in the morning, 5 miles south of LRAD Island. The 3 Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy boats were now 4,000 yards from the USS Sirocco and opening the range at 22 knots. On the radar display in the Combat Information Center, the three distinct green dots had merged back into a single cluster as they moved toward the Iranian coastline. Bridge. Combat. Contacts are at 5,000 yards. They are clear of the outbound shipping lane and have entered Iranian territorial waters. No further surface contacts are within 10,000 yards. Officer of the deck, aye, the captain replied. He looked at the digital clock on the bridge bulkhead. Secure from general quarters. Set condition 3 throughout the ship. Maintain a heightened lookout on the bridge wings and keep the FLIR active on the northern bearing. Condition 3 is the standard steaming watch for a United States Navy vessel. It allows 2/3 of the crew to rest, while maintaining enough personnel to operate the ship's sensors and defensive systems. The transition from the high alert status of general quarters took 5 minutes. The sound of the electronic alarm ceased, replaced by the low, steady hum of the ship's ventilation and the slap of the Gulf chop against the hull. In the radio room, the communications officer was finalizing the initial OPREP 3. An OPREP 3, or Operational Report, is a high-priority message sent to the National Military Command Center in Washington whenever a significant incident occurs involving a U.S. asset, flash precedence. SITREP being transmitted to 5th Fleet, the officer reported. Subject: unsafe and unprofessional interaction with IRGCN assets in the Strait of Hormuz. All timestamps and video timestamps are synced. The report was a dry, chronological list of events. It did not mention the adrenaline of the bridge crew or the heat inside the gun tubs. It listed coordinates, ranges, bearings, and the specific number of warnings issued. It noted that the Iranian vessels had conducted 8 high-speed passes and 1 head-on feint. It confirmed that no shots were fired and no personnel were injured. 6 miles to the north, the Iranian commander on the Zolfaghar-class boat signaled his base at Bandar Abbas. He reported that the sovereign patrol exercise was complete. His crew was now stowing the handheld cameras and the extra fuel bladders used for the high-speed maneuvers. Their mission had been a success from their perspective. They had forced a superior, American warship to react to their presence for over an hour and had gathered updated optical data on the Sirocco's defensive posture. By 3:55 in the morning, the Sirocco had resumed its original transit speed of 15 knots. The maritime haze was beginning to thin, as the first hint of pre-dawn light appeared on the eastern horizon. "Captain, we are approaching the exit of the strait," the officer of the deck reported. "The Gulf of Oman is 12 miles ahead." "Very well," the captain said. "Keep the SITREP updated every 30 minutes, until we are clear of the Musandam Peninsula. I want a full debrief of the bridge crew at 0800. The captain left the bridge and returned to his cabin. He did not go to sleep. He sat at his desk and began reviewing the thermal footage of the 7th pass, the head-on feint. He watched the white heat signature of the Zolfaghar turn away at the last possible second. The physical encounter was over. The diplomatic and strategic fallout was just beginning. In less than 4 hours, the footage recorded by the Sirocco's cameras would be playing in the Pentagon's briefing room. 10 o'clock in the morning. Manama, Bahrain. Inside the headquarters of the United States Naval Forces Central Command, the digital video from the USS Sirocco was being reviewed by a team of intelligence officers and surface warfare specialists. The footage, captured by the ship's FLIR 280 HD system, provided a stabilized, high-definition record of all 8 passes. "What we saw in the Strait of Hormuz was not a random encounter," says Admiral Retired James Vance, a former 5th Fleet commander, speaking to a group of analysts. "This was a calibrated tactical exercise in gray zone provocation. By using the Zolfaghar and Peykaap-classes vessels that are small, extremely fast, and highly maneuverable, the IRGCN is testing the decision-making cycle of the American commanding officer. The Cyclone-class patrol ship, like the Sirocco, occupies a unique position in the Navy's inventory. Displacing only 330 tons with a length of 170 feet, it is significantly smaller than a standard Arleigh-Burke-class destroyer. While it lacks the Aegis combat system and vertical launch cells of its larger counterparts, it is armed with 2 Mark 38 25mm chain guns and 2 Mark 19 grenade launchers. The Sirocco is a littoral combatant, Vance explains. It is designed to operate in shallow, congested waters where a destroyer might be too large to maneuver effectively. This makes it an ideal target for IRGCN harassment. The Iranian goal in these 80-knot closing speed maneuvers is to force the American vessel to either deviate from the international shipping lane or to discharge a weapon. The technical analysis of the 7th pass, the head-on feint, was of particular interest to the Pentagon. Data from the Sirocco's radar indicated that the Iranian boat reached a point of approach where the window for a non-lethal response was closing in seconds. Had the Iranian commander not turned away, the Sirocco would have been forced to utilize its Mark 38 guns to defend the ship's hull. Under the standing rules of engagement, a commander has the inherent right and obligation to exercise self-defense. The analyst continues. The use of flares and the LRAD was a textbook application of the escalation of force ladder. By deploying white phosphorus flares at 300 yards, the captain signaled that the next step on the ladder was kinetic. The Iranian commander recognized this signal and broke off. The incident highlights the ongoing tension in the Strait of Hormuz, a waterway that is 21 miles wide at its narrowest point. Approximately 20% of the world's liquefied natural gas and oil passes through this gap daily. Any maritime incident that leads to an exchange of fire has the potential to disrupt global energy markets within hours. The Iranian strategy is one of managed friction, Vance says. They want to demonstrate that they, not the international community, control the flow of traffic in the strait. By conducting 8 passes over the course of an hour, they are essentially conducting a live-fire drill without ever pulling a trigger. They are training their crews on how to approach, box, and intimidate Western warships. Report from the Sirocco would eventually be cross-referenced with satellite telemetry and signals intelligence. The conclusion of the technical debrief was clear. The crew had followed all established protocols for a high-tension encounter in a restricted waterway. The fact that the Sirocco did not fire is not a sign of hesitation, the analyst concludes. It is a sign of precision. The crew maintained their course and their discipline while being circled by armed combatants for 65 minutes. In the context of the Persian Gulf, that is the definition of professional seamanship. 1,300 hours. The Pentagon Press Briefing Room. The Department of Defense released the declassified thermal imaging and bridge-to-bridge audio logs from the USS Sirocco at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The briefing was conducted by the Pentagon Press Secretary. It lasted 14 minutes. At 02:15 in the morning, local time, the USS Sirocco was approached by 3 Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy fast attack craft, the secretary stated. Over the course of 65 minutes, these vessels conducted 8 high-speed passes. In one instance, an Iranian vessel approached within 150 yards of the Sirocco's bow. We have categorized this interaction as unsafe and unprofessional. The term unsafe and unprofessional is a specific bureaucratic designation used by the United States Navy to describe maritime encounters that violate the international regulations for preventing collisions at sea. It is a formal signal that while the incident did not result in a kinetic engagement, it significantly increased the risk of a miscalculation. The strategic landscape. The incident in the Strait of Hormuz is not an isolated event. It represents a persistent pattern of behavior in the Persian Gulf. The proportionality of force. The USS Sirocco was authorized to defend itself, yet the command chose a path of measured escalation. The use of the LRAD and white phosphorus flares provided a non-lethal buffer that prevented a lethal exchange. The role of documentation. The immediate release of the video footage serves as a diplomatic tool. By making the recording public, the United States Navy establishes a factual record that counters any alternative narratives regarding who initiated the proximity maneuvers. The navigational reality: the Strait of Hormuz remains a high-friction zone. With over 100 ships transiting, the 21-mile gap every day, the margin for error is measured in yards and seconds. In Tehran, a spokesperson for the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps issued a brief statement 5 hours after the Pentagon briefing. The statement did not acknowledge the specific number of passes or the use of flares. It described the event as a routine patrol of sovereign waters and stated that the Iranian vessels had warned an intrusive foreign warship to maintain its distance. The de-escalation protocol. The crisis ended not because of a grand diplomatic gesture, but because of professional adherence to established rules of engagement. When the Iranian commander recognized that the Sirocco was prepared to use its primary weapon systems, signaled by the deployment of the flares, he made the tactical decision to withdraw. What we saw that night was a professional crew on the Sirocco doing exactly what they were trained to do, says a retired naval analyst. They did not panic. They did not overreact. They simply followed the checklist. In the Strait of Hormuz, the checklist is the only thing that prevents a localized incident from becoming a regional conflict. By 4 o'clock in the SAD afternoon, the USS Sirocco was 100 miles into the Gulf of Oman, heading toward a scheduled port visit in the United Arab Emirates. The ship had resumed its routine maintenance schedule. The gunners had stowed their gear. The bridge-to-bridge radio was quiet, monitoring the standard commercial traffic of the Indian Ocean. The official report would eventually be filed in the archives of the Fifth Fleet. It would be indexed as a standard maritime interaction. No shots had been fired. No one had been hurt. The transit of the world's oil supply continued, uninterrupted and indifferent to the 65 minutes of tension that had occurred in the dark.